Let's talk about the God idea. Why did we need it? Why was it created? What was its purpose? Do we still need it? If yes, how do we still need it? How do we incorporate it now in our modern days? Firstly, why the God idea? Why did we create this? And I'm calling it the God idea because there's so many different kinds of gods, but the idea is the same. Something outside of us, something great, something that created things, or something that has some form of is the law, right? The creator, or whatever the language, whatever the religion, whatever the culture, but the idea is the same. So I'm calling it God for English sake because I'm speaking English. All right. Why was it created? One was definitely for meaning, to answer humans' questions like the why. Why are we here? Why are things the way they were? Why is the sun the way it is? Right? Why is the suffering? Why is the poverty? Why is the drought? Why is the why? So the God idea served beautifully that question because it could answer because God created, because God is the creator, because God needed to express itself. The ideas are so many, and the answer comes from that God idea, right? Another very crucial reason God became so important, which ties to why it was created, it became a very important companion, right? You live with people, but they'll be next to you in their own bodies. But the God idea, right, it's like insight. You have a companion within you that you can actually even have privately on your own body and talk to them. So it brought in very closeness in terms of having someone or something or a God that is going to be very personal and can be a companion, right? Another thing that I think it was important that it brought, why it was created, for morals. So it was a moral compass for communities, for individuals, and just guiding people as to, hey, how do we live together, by saying, how would God want us to live? Let's live godly, right? Let's live in the God's image, like God's likeness. So it became a measuring of morality. And yes, morality was being created as we're going along. It still is. We're still creating our morals as we go. But the God kind of became the reason why you should have morals, right? Because God wants kids with morals. I joke, but you're right, we all know that God, you don't want to disappoint God. So the idea kind of just made you want to do the right thing, which is good. It's amazing. Okay, another one is belonging. Honestly, I'm getting a call. Belonging. God creates the God idea, or in its own already creates the idea that we are all then under one umbrella, which technically we are because we're all humans. But it makes it more concrete, saying, we're the children of God. That feels much nicer. And feels like, yeah, I belong somewhere. I have a community beyond this dying, right? And also, most importantly, in many religions or traditions, this depends if they have this or not, but they might then give you an end destination after you died. So, right, it explains why people die. Well, I don't know if it explains that, but it explains where people go after they die, saying, comforting us, it's comforting people, saying, you go back to God, you go back to God's lens, or the religions say differently, the cultures say differently, but the gist is the same. You go somewhere where this God idea resides, and you're going to be safe, you're going to be fine. Don't worry, right? So it's good. And it's a comfort. Even when you lose a loved one, you have that sense of comfort of God is with them. They're in a better place. We even say that when we console people. We say, well, they're now in a better place. They're in the hands of the Lord, right? Yeah. Now, so far I'm talking about how the idea has served us pretty much, right? But of course we know that the God idea also has done this service to humans, or rather everything has two sides. So this idea was also used for so many bad things, so many, right? So weaponizing, controlling, colonization, now recently, in recent years, right? It also has been used in really weird ways to cause avoidance, shame, suppression, just harm, and the biggest one of them all, oppression of even genders, like, oh, this gender is better or cause of this, or this race, or there's even creatures like humans. Everything was made for humans, so we have that sense of, the rest of the creatures here in this planet don't matter. They're here to serve us. They're here because we needed them, which has always been absurd to me. It's like, what do you? But yeah, it also made us the center of life. I don't know. So those were also things that. And there's many more, and I'm sure you can think of others that did this disservice to us. You can think of others that did us good that I didn't mention. The God idea is broad. As I said, it's endless. It's a lot. The God idea has served us greatly. I think it's the greatest gift we have ever gotten. One of the greatest gifts we have ever gotten was the gift of God, that they gave us this whole idea, this whole thing that we can have. It is the greatest gift because it can work for us. It can really benefit us. Beside it harming us in so many ways, it can also be used really well. That's true. So now let's talk about the individual relationship with God. So everyone, usually their God idea is tied to their culture, their religion, or whoever told them about the God. Whatever that concept was that brought it to them, that God idea. So, the relationship to God depends greatly with the source that brings the God to you. I think now in 2026 and beyond, people have outgrown the idea of an off-planet God, some male figure somewhere judging and punishing people, right? I think many people have we no longer think that's the one, that's what's up. So many people have thought, okay, the God has to be somehow some form of spirit, some form of energy, but it definitely doesn't want to punish us right? It's there to serve us. So here's my question to you. If you do subscribe to the God idea, you think, we were created by someone or something, or some creation did come to be. If you have that in any shape or way, what is your relationship with that? What is your relationship with your God? So is it a therapeutic relationship? If you would describe it by looking at it, what is the relationship? Authoritarian? Is it an authority? Is it a parentified relationship? Father and child kind of relationship, right? What is the relationship? And what I always like to ask is what does your God do for you? And what do you do for your God? How do you serve your God, and how does it serve you? And if you might think, no, my God doesn't have to serve me, then are you saying you only serve him or them? I honestly think we need to start having a serious look as the ideas are replanted to us, which were meant to serve as well. Like the God idea. My father was the first person who told me about God. And I can remember him saying that to me. I was special. When he told me the story, he said, you were special because God created you in the likeness of them. And now you are here. And you are very special, and you have God, and God is within you, right? So that's what my father told me. I was very young then, 5, 6, and kind of took that in. So God came to me as a resource. And sometimes we don't realize that the God idea is not always a resource to us. Sometimes it's truly what holds us back, because it is the punisher. We have the punishing God, the one who tells you not to do the things that you love, the one who would punish you for sexually preferring differently than the norm, right? And so it's very wise and good for us to analyze these relations and analyze the gods that lives within us, or the God that lives within you. And if you think, no, I don't have any form of God in that way, okay, I'll leave you with this. So I would ask you, how can you cultivate a different God, knowing what you know? How can you cultivate a different relationship with your God, even if your God is God of the religion, right? Or whatever your religion, Christian God, etc. How can you have a more strengthened relationship with your God? And 2, how does your God hinder you? Where do they come to a point where you're like, this holds me back? And is the voice of your God, who's that voice behind the God? Because remember, God idea is created. There's usually the voice behind that. For me, my God, like I said, it was my father. He gave me the thing, and he was the first one who told me about the God. He was told by his father. Maybe for you, it's your church, your pastor, or your community. The voice of the God. Analyze that God. what kind of God did they give you? What God was planted in your own system? And you'll find that God is probably like a poison to your system, because they gave you a God to be feared instead of a God for you to make friends with and have a companion within you. Because it is a lonely world. You're going to live alone. We live alone next to people, next to creatures, but we are always alone inside, right? You can only experience the world on your own alone. So to have such a beautiful idea, it should be a friend. It should be anything that you're afraid of. So it's important to look at what God was planted and by who, and what's the voice behind that God. What were their intentions? If your God is the God of the religion, which I think all the religions have very beautiful gods, all of them have their bad sides. They are weird, like what? But for the most part, you can, of course, choose that which works for you and leave the rest. So thank you so much for hanging with us. And yeah, till we see each other on the next video, I hope you have happy gods and you have happy lives.